Hello. This is the Mulls on Mission podcast.
Yes.
This is our first one. We're currently driving, so this is a great big test to see if it comes out clearly. Our little setup is we bought basically some super mobile mics so that we can be doing updates wherever and whenever. So hi, I'm Philip.
And I'm Anna.
So we're going to start off every episode with just a silly question or, kind of get to know you icebreaker question so that, whoever's listening gets to know us better.
Do I get to introduce you, or were we going to do that?
Yeah, we're going to do that, but we're going to start with the question because I think that's more fun.
Okay.
I really should have prepared a question beforehand. Let's go with a would you rather.
Oh boy. Okay.
Would you rather have an extra thumb or an extra eyeball?
Oh, that's a hard question. I think...
And I'm going to say that you get to decide where the thumb and the eyeball are.
Oh my goodness. That makes it even harder.
So would you like extra dexterity in your hand? Or the ability to see in the back of your head?
I feel like if I had an eye in the back of my head, it would get hair in it all the time.
Yeah, I would just look at the hair all the time.
And I don't know if you've ever gotten like an eyelash in your hair or eyelash in your eye, but it hurts.
It's unpleasant.
It's not fun. And having that perpetually, I think I'm going to go with a thumb, but I'd put it on my foot.
You'd wear on your foot, like the back of the foot, like the chickens have the little claw
I would want to be able to actually. Well, see, I can already sort of pick up things with my toes, but to be able to do things like open a door with my foot.
Where are you gonna buy shoes?
I'll just go barefoot all the time.
Just flip flops all the time.
Flip flops all the time.
With your thumb hanging out.
Gross. Yep.
Where, which side of the foot? The inside, the outside?
It would probably. I think I'd do the.
And remember, you're only getting one extra thumb.
Yeah.
Which foot is it going on?
It'd be on the right foot.
On the right foot.
Yeah, I'm right-footed, left-handed, but right-footed.
Okay, so you're going with the thumb. I'm probably also going with the thumb. I'm gonna put it on my hand though. I'm gonna have a thumb on either side of my hand.
Do I get to say things since we're driving? Because you totally missed your turn.
I did. But I mean, it's
and I didn't want to interrupt you.
I-4 is right up here.
It's telling you to do a U-turn.
Whatever. Like I said, we're driving. I don't know how much I can edit this, so we may have to do it again. Who knows? I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm still learning how to use all this technology that the young folks have.
I don't know who's going to want to listen to this.
My mom. My mom will probably want to listen to this.
Hi, Mom.
Maybe your mom, too.
Hi, Mama.
Your sisters will have more to make fun of me about. If they listen to this.
They don't really need more material.
Ouch. Oh, that was a dig. It's a good one. Shot to the heart. Okay. So next we're going to do introductions for those of you who don't know who we are. But we're going to switch it up a little bit. Anna is going to introduce me, and I am going to introduce Anna. I will give you the floor since I apparently need to really focus on the road while I drive. So...
I mean, that's typically a good policy, but, okay, so, Philip.
Hi.
Philip is a tall, skinny white boy.
That is true.
My first impressions of you were...
How tall are we talking, though? Like, 6 foot's still tall.
6'3".
Okay, 6'3".
And, yeah, so, very tall, skinny white boy, who really likes airplanes and will always, if there is an airplane sound in the sky, no matter where we are or what we're doing, he will look for it. it doesn't matter if that same plane passed over our heads 20 minutes before and is just doing circles. He will always look up to see it again.
In my defense, that is an involuntary reaction acquired by all pilots.
So I guess that is, I guess that's self-explanatory. If you're listening to this, you know we're going into missions aviation, but pilot and loves airplanes, also just loves building things in general.
Yes.
You really like...
I do like to tinker.
Something that's really cool, I think, because I don't have this ability, is you see the world in lines and gears and mechanisms that all work together, and you see the mechanism in a way that I cannot. So even when it comes to like people and relationships, you just notice the patterns and mechanics of a thing or a person, and it makes you a very astute observer of the world. And I love getting, like, anybody that talks to Philip is going to get a very cool perspective on things. You're also very thoughtful. Like, you take a long time to think about something before you make a judgment call or a voice an opinion. Before you decide on your opinion, you think about things very deeply. And I also appreciate that because I like to do that too. So we get to think about things deeply together.
We get to ponder many things.
Yes, so he's a pilot that sees the world as a giant machine.
Yeah, there we go. It's just all cogs and gears.
And likes to think about how that machine works all the time.
When I saw the Lego movie for the first time, and you got like the master builders who like see all the things coming out and building.
You are the master builder.
That's how I see the world. And
absolutely.
Mechanisms. It's like you're just visualizing all the things moving, and it's hard to put into words sometimes.
Yeah, but you can see things coming together in such a way. Like I could look and see two trees that are growing kind of close to each other and think, oh, that'd be a fun tree to climb, or we could build a little tree house in it. But you're like, we could create this fortress by putting these two limbs together here, and we'll add a wall here. I'm gonna 3D print something to put on the top that works as solar, so we'll do some programming stuff. You just go way far beyond what the average person would think about when they see things. So there's that, and you also really love this is going to sound cheesy, but the designer, the Lord, and you love seeing how he designs things. And you talk to him about that kind of stuff a lot. Like, how do these things work, God? So...
yeah, sometimes I'm thinking I'm smart because I see how a thing works, and then I take another moment to think about, somebody came up with that in the first place. It humbles me a little bit.
Yeah, but one of the first things that I was that I noticed when we first met 7 years ago, after I got over the jeans that were too short and the long
in my defense
hair.
Again, all jeans are too short. It's hard to get a 30-36. So
it's fair. But after that first visual impression, when I got to know you, the thing that stood out the most was that real, like, deep passion for the Lord. It's like a controlled passion. It's not like a wild Pentecostal kind of passion. It's like this really deep-rooted desire for the Lord and the things of the kingdom. And that came out in literally every conversation we ever had for the first, first couple years of our our friendship. Everything we talked about somehow had the Lord, or you saw the influences of that perspective of the kingdom that you had in everything that you talked about. And that's still true to this day. So I think that's a pretty good broad strokes description of you.
I'm not responding much because I mostly want to just say self-deprecating things.
He also is really bad at accepting compliments. I will add that part. He's getting better.
Slowly.
Because
very slowly.
He has to. I'm a words of affirmation person, and the way I show love is I just verbally affirm everything about a person and tell them all the things that I like about them all the time. So being married to me, he gets that a lot. So
Yep,
he's
I'm
getting
my
better.
practice in.
He out of necessity has to.
Yes.
But naturally, he's the most humble person you will ever meet. Like, will do things because they need to be done, and if he never gets recognition for it, he's not gonna hurt over it. He just, will take out the trash at his parents' house because, oh look, it hasn't been done. And if someone's like, who took the trash out later on, you're not gonna say anything. So that's another aspect. I could keep going because I think you're a very dynamic and deep person. So there's lots else to say, but those are like the big things.
Those are the big things. So it's my turn now?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Ooh, I get to introduce Anna. All right, so first, she is also a very humble person and may want to respond to things that I will say gushingly over her. I am going to ask whoever's listening to just ignore her humble responses and just take what I'm saying. So
I'm actually very excited. I like I said
That's
before,
true. She is a
I'm
words of
a
affirmation
words of affirmation person. So I'm excited about this.
all right, so there's people in life who have what I like to call justice meters, where it's like everything's right, wrong. If you do the wrong, it's like I'm turned on. I'm justice turned on. Like I will come at you to defend the right, the wrong.
You're
Anna
triggered.
is not that person, and that's not because she doesn't have a justice meter. It's because she is like stupid high on the mercy grace side of things, where it's like I don't care what you did, I will come to the defense of a human being. Even if they have terrible ideas and I hate all of their ideas, it's just people. I want people to be cared for all the time, always, in every circumstance. Like, even if she's hurt over how one of her friends has treated her, like, she will defend that person behind their back to the death. Why? Because she is a very high, like, mercy kind of person, where it's just like, I will love on people, I will care for people. When people make dumb decisions that hurt her or others, she just hurts for the person and what they're going through. Not like, oh, they wronged me. It's like, oh, they're going through a lot right now, and that must be really hard, and I'm hurting for them. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. When I met Anna, you know, we like to talk about our first impressions of each other because we don't actually remember the first time we met. It was kind of a developing friendship that then budded into something beautiful. But my impressions of her were, so like, there are, you know, people who are like legitimately country, you know, like grew up in the West, grew up on a farm, and then there are the people that like really want to be country. Sorry, babe, this may be offensive, but you wanted to be country.
I did.
Yeah, I mean,
really
you guys
did.
had goats and chickens. And, you know, Ocala's like
It's horse country.
borderline-ish. It's horse country, so like there are.
I
country
blended in.
people.
Let's
Yeah,
just
she
say
did-
it that
She
way.
did blend in, but like the bedazzled jeans with the big belt buckle and tucked in T-shirt, pixie cut hair, cowgirl boots. I mean, like, and she drove cool cars, like some souped up SUV. It was a Toyota 4Runner, right? 2000?
Yes.
2000?
No, it was in 1990. It was old.
90. Okay.
It was old, and it was
Jacked
my
up,
baby.
big tires. Yeah. She was the cowgirl of the group. She's got a voice like melting butter on a piece of deliciously toasted bread. You know, it's just like, it just melts you. Her voice is awesome for singing. On our website, I have links to songs that she's written and or participated in. So you should check them out and don't just take my word for it. Go and hear the buttery goodness of my wife's voice. And she doesn't, like, she loves to use that voice to worship the one who gave her that voice. The first time I ever went over to her house, she basically would plan worship and prayer nights, mostly worship, although there was a little bit of prayer, where she would bring all of her friends over who either could or couldn't play instruments, and she would have things, sort of orchestrated out. Like she had a song list, she had some verses to share, but she would invite other people to share verses as well. They were really, really awesome worship gatherings that I love to be a part of. Anything like that, and those were some of the best worship gatherings that I've been a part of. And she's got really an anointing to lead people in worship. She'll be leading a song, and the Lord will just speak to her in the middle of it, and she will share that with the congregation, and people will be in tears and crying, and snot's coming out, but really has an anointing for worship, really has a voice to match that anointing. So those were some of the first times we really hung out, were me at her house for worship nights. Now, I met Anna when I moved to a new city to start my aviation training. I was invited to the church that she was a part of the college group at. We met there. She invited us over. Got to meet her. Got to meet her incredibly awesome family, who it's like, for those of you who are married, it's always like kind of a 50-50 shot if it's going to be like good with the in-laws or not good with the in-laws. Like, it feels like I have two families that are just like awesome, super solid. We joke, we have fun, we have a great time.
So I have all sisters, and we've always talked about wanting a brother. As soon as Philip came into the family...
How many sisters?
Oh, 4.
Yeah.
There are 5 of us, all girls.
I might rather take on the fire swamp.
They immediately grabbed hold of Philip as brother.
Oh, yes.
That included all the teasing, all the jokes.
I had, 15, 18, 19 years of banter to catch up on with all the sisters.
Yes, that is the way we communicate, is through banter and teasing. So
I'm not sure that a single part of me, aspect of me, hath not been on the table for mockery at some point. From the way I eat a bagel, to the way I pronounce words, and to my lack of spelling ability. I mean, that one's fair, but yeah, it's been great.
I think Bryn, my youngest sister, was the first one to
Bryn
decide,
was my way
you are
into
my
the family.
You are my brother.
We would hang out at the worship nights, and one day she drew me a picture, and she gave me the picture at the end of the night.
7?
Yeah, she was like 7.
6 or 7 at the time.
And so the next week, I came back with a picture, and I gave her a picture, and we exchanged probably 6 or 7 pictures, and she spelt my name differently on every single one of them. My name is Philip. There are normally only 2 spellings, Philip or Phillip. My favorite one was Filap. Philap. I think that was my favorite spelling that she did.
She would have been 5 when we met.
Wow. She was probably 6 when I was over there for the worship nights.
Yeah. Just to put in context, she's an excellent speller now.
She is.
She's better at all of the word games. Wordle,
the rest of us,
is the big one.
In a week, she got the Wordle in 2 tries, 2 times.
She's very good at these kind of things.
Yeah,
so that, just putting that out there, Bryn, if you're listening, you're amazing. We're not making fun of your spelling.
So yeah, that's Anna. She loves worship. She's got a voice like butter. She is super high on the mercy side of things. She also does speech therapy, and this is an aspect of her that I don't think she can turn off. Just like I see shapes in everything, she hears accents and pronunciation differences in everything. Someone who, one of my best friends, Nathan, he is a stutter. And I don't notice the stutter, to be honest. And, she notices it immediately. And it's not I can't get over that. It's just a fascination with people and the way they speak and everything that has to do with language. And it's pretty incredible. She'll break down accents, saying, they're doing this with this part of their mouth, that with that part of their mouth. They're, what are some of the terms? I don't remember any of the terms.
Vowel shifting.
Vowel shifting. They're dropping the O, palatalizing. I don't know.
There's a lot of different things you can do with language.
Yeah. and she knows all of it, like the back of her hand. She's fascinated by all of it. If you ever meet her and talk to her, she is analyzing your speech patterns, but she won't tell you, and you won't, like, she's not going to make a comment about it. But it happens. It's just like I see shapes and mechanisms. She hears pronunciation differences. So those are our I guess our quirks, our main quirks in life.
Now everyone's going to be afraid to talk to me.
No.
They're going to get judged.
No.
They're going to be afraid to be
judged. It's not judging. It's just
I don't
analyzing.
judge. It's true. But the way it's put forth, it's like they're going to be self-conscious.
Anytime you make a comment on any sort of difference a person has, it gets, you're like, is that bad? Am I supposed to be different? Is it good to be different? I don't know. So, but no, it's not judgmental. It's just analysis.
It's kind of like how people have everybody has a different face, and some of them, their eyes are going to be close to the same color, but they're not all going to be identical. Like, no one's going to be identical. It's the same way with voices, and I'm an extremely auditory learner. So when you're talking, I learn to recognize people by their speech. It's like a passive thing. It's not. It's like, oh, this person has blonde hair and brown eyes. Oh, this person makes their S with their tongue down as opposed to their tongue up. Like, it's just observations.
So I guess I'm going to take a nice segue here into the updates portion. So one of the reasons we are looking at joining JARS Aviation, who is the transportation branch of Wycliffe Bible Translators, is because it seems to be a really good pairing of the two, interests that we have. Hers with language, any chance she could have to be a part of Bible translating or just learn more about language and translation, she is super excited for. I really like airplanes and flying airplanes and maintaining airplanes, and they do airplanes, so that's my reason, and that's her reason. Is there anything you'd like to expound upon there?
Aside from just the fact that it's felt kind of like open doors, like a lot of different doors we have to knock on to open, but it feels like every time we knock on a door, it gets open.
Yeah.
Makes that peace monitor in my heart just feel calm.
Yeah.
So it feels like we're walking in step with the Lord, and He's timing it differently than how we might want it. But every door that we've knocked on seems to be opening. So
So where we're at in this whole big process, because right now we are not on the missions field. I mean, I guess missions field is kind of an odd term because, anytime we're not in our house or in the church, we're kind of on the missions field, right?
Right.
That's one of the things I loved about your guys' church up in Ocala is they have a sign when you're leaving the church. It says you are now entering the missions field.
Yeah.
Which I love that perspective, but I guess what you would call our ministry vocation of international missions. We are not there yet. We are still stateside, very much stateside, but we are in the application process, and we're at the very, very beginning of the application process. And that's kind of why we're trying to set all this stuff up now. We're trying to get rolling with the podcast. We're trying to get rolling with sort of our newsletter updates, and the website is so that whoever's wanting to follow us isn't just seeing, oh, they're over there and things are picture perfect and amazing. We really want to be able to sort of show, hey, what does the process look like? What are some of the struggles, some of the joys of going from, kind of your normal middle class. We're not quite suburbia because we live in an apartment complex, but we're doing all right. Things are pretty comfortable, and we could make them more comfortable if we wanted to. But we are really feeling like the Lord's leading us to something very different than either of us have really experienced before.
Yeah.
I've done a number of international missions trips. some up to, several weeks or a month, but nothing as far as, really picking up and moving locations to just sort of be planted in a brand new, very different community for the purpose of the gospel. And we just want to be able to kind of share all the way from the very beginning. So I guess where we're at right now is we've just done some of the initial sort of paperwork application for JARS, which is mostly me sending in all of my aviation experience, both maintenance and flight. And the two of us sending in our, what are they called? Testimonies, those ones. Telling them, how we know the Lord, just our journey in our kind of faith journey, and what churches we've been a part of, kind of our church history and experience. And now they're wanting me and Anna to come for what's called a consultation, which basically I'd go for a couple hours of flying and do a few maintenance projects with them up in Waxhaw, North Carolina, so that they can assess that I know something, because right now I've never met them, they've never met me, they don't know if I know anything. I've sent them some of my experience, but they don't know to what quality I do work, or how officially I do my work, like is it paperwork official and everything like that. So they want us to come up for consultation, which is just going to be a couple-day thing, and then they'll assess, hey, we want you to go for this training or that training, or, come for the big 2-week technical evaluation, which is a lot of flying, a lot of maintenance, really testing not just how much I know, but how apt I am to learn and how good of an attitude I have in difficult situations. And for Anna, they are going to be wanting to get to know her and get her integrated in knowing some of the missionary wives. Because one of the big questions we've had is like, all right, we don't have kids at the moment. And we'll get into the podcast a little more of that story because it's its own story. We're not going to get to it right now or right here. But we don't have kids, so Anna's been wondering, what am I going to do when Philip's flying, doing his thing, off in the skies overseas? So do you want to talk about any of your questions or process there?
So, yeah, I think the biggest thing that came up when we first started exploring missions aviation was, what am I supposed to do? Because I am not a pilot. I am not a mechanic. I don't meet any of the requirements for a JARS missionary or any of the missionary pilots. So I could see you fitting in very well, but I could not see what my role would be. And if I was just, and I had a lot of conversations with the Lord about, like, am I just supposed to be support, like, am I supposed to stay and pray while you go do all the stuff? And it's like, Lord, I'm okay with that, but I'm not excited about that. And I still have some questions about that, because everybody that I've talked, all the ladies that I talked to whose husbands are pilots in different missions organizations, said that their lives look very similar to what they do in the States, parenting, homeschooling, that sort of thing. It's like, well, I don't have any of that. I don't have kids. I don't have to do any schooling. So there were some
big unknowns and questions.
Big unknowns. There are options that I've been told about. I could probably teach at one of the at one of the local schools. Either the missions, probably one of the missionary schools, teach the kids. I could possibly continue to do speech therapy. There are some speech therapists on the field that do speech therapy for missionary kids, and actually in different countries from the one that they are in. So Zoom, virtual therapy. So that is an option. And then they also mentioned that I could possibly get involved with some aspect of the Bible translation. with Wycliffe, they have editors once obviously I'm not a linguist. I took some linguistics classes. I didn't quite make enough credits to minor in linguistics. So I don't qualify for that either. However, they did say there was a possibility I could get involved with some of the different aspects.
Editing, proofreading.
Yeah, proofreading kind of stuff.
Because it's not just, one person pens the translation and then it's like,
It's
all right,
a whole
it's
team.
official. Yeah, there's a whole team. Just like any book is going to have a process before it gets published, they have many, many processes with the Bible because they think that one's kind of an important book.
Right. So I'm hopeful. There seems like there's a lot of options. It does not seem like a very vague, oh, you're going to be maybe doing something. It seems like there's a lot of different options, all of which seem exciting in one way, shape, or form. Something that the Lord's really been impressing on me, though, is even now is developing community. That's something that God's put on my heart. We currently have neighborhood kids coming to our house.
A mob of neighborhood children.
Pretty much daily.
Every day.
Just to say hi, and I'll go and talk with them on the front step. We'll play card games. I've met over text. I've met some of their parents. I always text their parents when the kids are over. I make them text so that the parents know where the kids are. But God's been really impressing on me that this is something that's very important for the gospel, is creating safe places, safe homes for people of all different backgrounds and ages and abilities, and where they are with the Lord, and so that's something too that I think I can do anywhere. That's something that is very much part of the Great Commission of sharing the gospel, is to talk to people and to be different than
the rest
the
world. Of the world.
Yes. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do that regardless if I can do any of those other things, but that I won't be sitting at home.
Yeah.
And
just twiddling your thumbs
twiddling
until
my
I come
thumbs.
home.
I'm not really good at, unless I have a book, I'm not super good at entertaining myself. The way that Philip is, when he'll just be like, I'm going to go design.
I'm going to take apart these 5 pens and build a catapult out of it.
Pretty much. I'm going to just take apart this remote and see how it works. What are all the wires and what is it? I don't have any, that does not intrigue me. But
you like to take apart a book and explore all the characters and come up with voices.
Yes, or make some music. But my big excitement is people. And so people are everywhere. That's why we go on mission, is for the people. So I guess that's a long answer to...
Yeah, people are kind of important. I've been realizing lately, people are the only thing we're going to take with us later.
Right.
You know? Yeah. My car, my pens, my contraptions, they're all going to stay here. But the human soul is going to be moving on. So we want as many of those with us as we can.
Right.
All right, and now we're going to transition to the final portion of the podcast. Yeah, so basically every week it's going to be split up into silly question to get to know. Then it's going to move to sort of update on how the process is going, where we're at in our missions journey. And then the final portion is going to be us talking about what we feel the Lord has been teaching us lately. I'll go ahead and go first, since I have one in mind, and I'll let Anna think. Not that she has to think all that hard, because...
Well, I kind of touched on it already.
Yeah, you did touch on it already.
So,
so for me, I've actually been listening to a lot of things from the Catholic Church, and some people are going to be like, that's a completely different faith. But, I can still be encouraged by the way that they seek the Lord. And one of the things that has been both very challenging to me and I think growing is an idea that they have pretty well developed, and it's an idea of Christian poverty. which is just, hey, I'm going to live frugal and or poor, live with the least of these so that I can minister to the least of these and look anybody in the eye and say, hey, we're at the same sort of level economically, socially, and tell them, you have worth, you have value. Just like, Jesus got down in the dirt with the woman who was caught in adultery and spoke life into her. And just like Jesus, traveled his entire ministry life without having a central base or hub or house. He was kind of a vagabond, a traveling minister and a traveling preacher, and had no place to lay his head, as he testified himself. So just that idea of giving up worldly riches in their entirety and living poor, sort of for the sake of, one, your own growth, so that you become more and more reliant upon the Lord for his provision, as opposed to saying, I rely on the Lord, but I have, $2 million in a 401k and I live off the growth of that, to say, hey, I actually need the Lord to show up tomorrow. And I am completely reliant upon him for my provision. He truly is my provider. And I am going to seek him all the more. And I'm going to get to know him more deeply because I see him as the one who's legitimately providing for me. So that's been challenging, especially as we're looking into, missions. That's not a very lucrative career, especially airlines need a lot of pilots. Airlines pay pretty well. You can live a pretty cush life off the airlines. But I really feel the Lord's calling us to something that looks different than, I guess, what would normally be considered wise or safe. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been learning. What's kind of been sticking out to me lately.
Kind of to piggyback off of that a little bit, you talked about Jesus got down in the dirt and encouraged. He was a safe space in the middle of life and death situation. And the epitome of public humiliation, like rock bottom. And aside from Jesus saying, well, what Jesus said there is, you don't have to live like this anymore. I think that is something. So hospitality has been a big marker in what I've been learning, what the Lord has been highlighting in our conversations. Recently in the last probably 4 or 5 months, is that people are always looking for a safe space. And we as Christians know that our safe space is with the Lord, and that means literally anywhere we can turn to the Lord and we can be safe. And what a testament to the goodness of God that we can actually show we can have a physical manifestation of a safe place when we open up our home to anyone that needs it. Reading different books on people about that people have written about hospitality. The gospel comes with a house key, and there's something so it's very open. When you offer an open door, it provides an open door for the gospel, but it doesn't have something that I'm learning now. It doesn't have to happen the first go around. The first time somebody comes and has a conversation with me, I don't have to convert them. That's always been, as the evangelism portion of things, I'm not strongly driven on street evangelism or just telling everybody, which sounds a little bit funny since we're trying to be missionaries, but I'm just being honest, that's not my natural bent, which is where the grace of the Holy Spirit comes in. But other ways that manifests itself is just providing that open door. being a safe space without judgment, and then building that rapport too of when you've got somebody that's coming to you to talk about things,
Yeah.
and then you consistently don't judge them, eventually
Yeah.
they'll be able to receive what
Yeah.
what the Holy Spirit gives you to say, what you have to say. When it comes right now, like I mentioned before, we've got all these little kids coming to our house, and I was talking to a lady at our church. I was like, I don't know how to turn this into a ministry or how to
Yeah.
turn this into community, because it's just a bunch of kids coming over to play. And she said, you know, these kids might, the thing that they'll remember quite possibly is I always had a safe place to go.
Yeah.
There was somebody that was always ready to listen to me.
Yeah.
And isn't that what Jesus does?
Mm-hmm.
I always have a place to go. I can always
Yeah.
go and talk to Jesus and know that I'm not going to receive any judgment. And his timing is probably better than mine with when he shares instruction. But that's been a big thing. It's just providing that open door, regardless of if it's your house,
Yeah.
literally, or just
Somebody else's house. So.
or a friendship.
Yeah.
That no agenda.
Yeah.
Jesus doesn't have an agenda with us, so we don't have to have an agenda with other people.
Just come
except
to care and pour in and build up.
So
and
you are valuable.
call higher up and higher in, right? No, farther up.
Further in.
Totally messed up that quote. That was almost awesome. If any of you don't know what I'm talking about, read the Chronicles of Narnia series. But yeah,
It's a good
the
line.
goal: further up, further in, for us and for all those who we get to share this beautiful life with. So, well, that's all we had for today. Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate your guys' prayer. You guys can be praying for me to basically figure out the scheduling to go up and do the consultation, but having trouble figuring out an airplane that I can use up there to do the consultation in. So you guys can pray for the Lord's favor there. And yeah, just keep praying for us for what we're doing. You guys can also message and send us your prayer requests. That would be cool too. So then we get to know you guys a little bit and what's going on in your world.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will be updating. I do not have a specific schedule in mind for how often we'll be posting these, but they will be semi-regular for sure. So that's that. I think that's detailed enough of an expectation for when you can get another one. But we will keep you guys up to date. Be patient with me as I learn how to do the editing and recording and learn all this stuff. But yeah. Bye.